let's see. The first one isn't real big or heavy. It's just a tweet from Mark Tooley from, I don't know, a few days ago. He attended Asbury University. That's a picture from their chapel where they had that big revival a few months ago, or more than a year ago now, actually. And he said, confession, I've never been able to sing praise music. He put it in quotations because, of course, older music is praise music as well, but he's talking about the genre. He said, and when I look at the crowd, usually not many are singing. Do others have the same experience? So y'all know that I've kind of staked my flag. You know, a lot of people want to be done with the worship wars. Hey, everybody won, nobody lost. There's a place for everything. But I'm one of these going, no, the form matters. You know, it's not just the content that matters. The form matters. And the form of praise music is problematic. Not that all praise music is just lost. You know, I'm willing to consider that a lot is pleasing to God and can be good for the assembly. But here's the thing. It's much harder to do it well. And by that, I mean the purpose of music in the assembly of saints is to be of one heart and mind, to seek the mind of Christ together. As the voices blend together, we become one organism, one body aimed at God's glory. And the thing is, anytime you have huge amplifications so that you can't hear your neighbor, automatically the whole venture is lost. You know, as soon as you have the people on the chancel or stage, the raised area, their job in worship is to lead the body in worship. What the people on the stage or chancel are not the primary worshipers, rather the people in the pews are, and then that's expressed through music. But if what you're doing up on the chancel so drowns out the body or so redirects attention from the body to the people on stage, and then it undoes the whole theological venture. It undoes the whole purpose of music. It changes from people on the chancel leading the body as it worships. It changes from that to a concert that is ostensibly for God's glory. But the thing is, God doesn't need a concert. You know, you can imagine the Old Testament parallels. God has no need for the blood of goats and bulls. He doesn't need our sacrifices. What the Lord requires is mercy and obedience. You know, now I'm paraphrasing Micah and some other prophets. The whole thing is we imagine that we can like do for God as in some sense where he's like grateful to us. And that's not the purpose of worship. Worship is covenant renewal. It's rightly ordering our hearts for God's glory. So it's the glorification of God, sanctification of man. And so when you're looking at how music is done, you can do traditional music wrong as well. You can blast that organ up so high that people can't hear each other. Or you can have people singing in multiple parts in the front so that you can't carry the melody. You can be doing key changes so that you're throwing people off. You can do improvisational stuff that makes people uncomfortable. So that's not to say it's always perfect in this place and always imperfect in this other place. And I hate when people get hyperbolic about this stuff. But Tooley's just noticing here, and I can't help but notice too, that whenever you have a praise band on stage and they're blasting that music, and they're changing the keys, and they're doing an irregular number of repetitions, and they're singing way too high or way too low, you know, it really impacts how well the body can worship. And so a lot of people in the body just don't even try. That's what Tooley's focusing on here. He's like, I don't really try. I look around, nobody else is really trying. But the thing is, you can't really tell because they're blasting the music. And that's what I think is actually the case, or one of the reasons why people do this. There are a lot of churches that just don't sing. They don't like singing. They're very uncomfortable singing. Doesn't matter how easy you do it. They just don't want to sing. They don't want to praise God with their voices. And so what do? Do you convince people to praise God? Do you say, hey, what's going on? Why don't you want to praise God? You know, what's going on here? Or do you just turn up the volume and produce a lot of sound, and then people in the pews can just, you know, whatever they do, it doesn't matter. And that's the issue that I worry that we're masking with all this artificial noise in the church nowadays. Is there are a lot of bodies just don't seem to have a lot of praise in them. They'll show up for a show, give them a show, But if you expect them to sing, even if they know the hymns, even if they ostensibly believe what the hymns point to, a lot of people just aren't going to offer up their praise. And what do you do with cold-hearted people like that? Do you confront them and say, hey, you should be singing, you should be praising God? Or do you just, glad you're here? Glad you're here. Come in. There's a spot for you right there. Write a little check if you want to. We got a show for you today. You're going to feel great when this is over. Two different models of worship here. One is lifting up, compelling, pressuring the praise of the body versus making up for what the body lacks with artificial means. And you can tell where I am at on all this. I just appreciated Tooley doing that because, man, that guy, he does not mind saying unpopular things or things that are going to offend people, obviously. Well, I know I give that impression. I don't like offending people. I just worry about what happens to congregations that over time are not equipped to worship. Because, if they're not being equipped to worship in the community of saints, do you imagine that they're worshiping at home? I don't know why we would imagine that. If people are not, there have been so many theologians over the years to say what we do privately in our homes, what we do when we gather in the church is a preparation for what we anticipate doing for eternity. Do you think God is excited to get a bunch of people up in his heavenly temple who don't even like singing to him, with the heavenly host? Our worship now should be equipping us for participating in the worship of the heavenly host. It should be joining in the worship that's already going on. And if we imagine that we're all just going to sit up in heaven watching the best rock show ever from an angelic rock band, that just seems silly to me. I don't know. And I'm not against instruments necessarily. You find them in the Psalter and fine. But the whole question is of directionality. Are these things being used to help the body worship? Is the body confidently singing together as one voice, one heart, one mind? Or are you just putting on a show and everybody can just phone it in? That's the question here.